Farewell iLoad, hello Staria Load. This is the all-new, bigger, smarter, safer van that replaces the iLoad in Australia after 14 years. And as you can imagine, there's been a lot of progress to be made over a model cycle that long. In fact, Hyundai says this new van is the smartest and safest model on the market. And wow, just have a look at the thing. It certainly makes a statement. If you haven't seen the Staria People Mover, this is essentially just a load lugger version of that People Mover, that 8-seater. So, is it any good? Well, in this review, you're going to find out. Those are the time codes, and that means you can jump ahead to what interests you most in this review. And if you are watching on YouTube, you'll find chapter markers in the timeline. And if you are on YouTube, please hit like and subscribe and hit the bell icon to keep up to date with all of our video content, because there's plenty more coming. Plus, in the description there, you'll find a link to my full detailed written review at the CarsGuide site. First up, we're going to take a look at price and features of this new Staria Load van. The Staria Load is basically offered in two different versions. There's the 2-seat van, which you see here, and the 5-seat crew van, which is arriving before the end of 2021. Essentially, they're pretty close on spec, except, well, the crew van has a smaller cargo area and it's got a second row seat. At the time of filming, Hyundai has only confirmed pricing for the 2-seat Staria Load, though we've heard the crew van model is expected to be about $50,000. Worth noting that it's the same price whether you choose a tailgate or what Hyundai calls twin swing barn doors at the back, despite a little bit of difference between the two for spec inclusions. The barn door models aren't here yet either. Standard equipment for Staria Load includes 17-inch steel wheels with a full-size spare, auto dusk sensing halogen headlights, cloth interior trim and carpet flooring, a leather-lined steering wheel and gear knob, an 8-inch touchscreen media system with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, both of which are wireless, a 2-speaker stereo, an electronic park brake, wireless smartphone charging, a 4.2-inch digital instrument cluster, digital speedometer and tachometer, front and rear parking sensors, and there's a top-down 360-degree camera system for the models with the tailgate. Barn door versions get just a reversing camera. All grades come with twin side-sliding doors with filled-in panels on both sides. There's a vinyl floor liner, half-height panel liners, and 8 tie-down hooks fitted. We know there are plenty of things you might want to choose to personalise your van for your business needs. Maybe you need a cargo barrier, for example. If you want to know everything you can and can't get, read my full detailed review. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that link at the top of your screen or find the link in the description below. Next, we're going to take a look at design. Plenty to talk about when it comes to the look of this van, right? It's not going to be easily confused with a Toyota HiAce or a Ford Transit Custom, but the question is, even though it's dramatically different to anything we've seen before, is it to your tastes? Let us know in the comments section below. The nose treatment is aggressive, with a black horizontal line reminiscent of Robocop's helmet, but it looks even cooler on the Staria People Mover, which has an LED daytime running light strip running across there. Not the case in the van, which doesn't have any LED lighting at all. Instead, there are halogen clusters down low alongside a perforated bumper and grille. Moving to the side and the odd window line won't be to everyone's approval, but those new wider opening side sliding doors will. Hyundai says they're broad enough to forklift through, but most pallets won't fit that gap. A Euro pallet will. At the rear, the tailgate is tall and it won't work for forklift loading in, but it could be excellent for parcel delivery because of the size of the rear door, and it'll make a great undercover area in the rain, but just be aware it is very large when you try and swing it open and you've reversed up close to, say, a roller door. Just keep that in mind. Compared to the iLoad, the interior has been completely rethought in terms of usability and practicality, but also the design of it. It's built on a passenger car platform, and there is a people mover version, obviously, so there's a lot more thought that's been put into the way things are laid out in here. I love this digital dashboard that sort of sits proud of the dash and pops up. It doesn't actually pop up, it just stays where it is the whole time. But I also love the fact that Hyundai has managed to have an upright media system, but it's still easy to reach when you're on the move, which is a good thing. There's also clever little things like overhead pockets so you can store documents or loose items, and there's even netting on there to stop them from coming out. I'm going to go over some of the other practicality elements in the next section. I already mentioned some of the smart storage like those overhead caddies, but there's other storage smarts in here too. So there's a document holder that sits up here on top of the dashboard so you can chuck a folder or an iPad, whatever you might need to put there. In terms of door storage, they are huge. There's 3 tiers to the storage in the doors, including a massive bottle pocket right down the bottom. And there's a cup holder on top of the dashboard, just the one, just on the driver's side, but there is a pop-out cup holder here for your passenger. Above it, you'll find a wireless phone charger, which is great. The fact that you can just chuck your phone in there as you get in and out of the car. It'll even remind you if you've left your phone in there. I love that. But what I don't love is that this 8-inch touchscreen media system, it has CarPlay and Android Auto, but wireless only. You can't plug in and have the secure connection that you get with a USB connection. Instead, you've got this Bluetooth connection, which is pretty glitchy in my experience. And I've even had a few instances where the screen just blacks out and loses connection completely, even if the phone is in the car with you, which is really annoying. Plus, when I've been on phone calls during my time with the Staria Load, I've had people complaining to me that there's a really bad lag between when I'm talking and when they're hearing me. So those sorts of things for a business van could be really annoying, and make sure you do make a phone call or two if you're taking one of these for a test drive. In terms of other considerations for the cabin, obviously it's not hugely special feeling. There's lots of hard plastics, but it's a hard wearing place and it's designed to be up to the task of being a business partner as well as an office on the road if you need it. Now, in the 5-seat version, which we haven't actually got in Australia just yet, you won't get this opportunity to walk through the cabin. There will be a center console bin between these seats, and I would say that that would be handy to have somewhere to rest your arm when you're on a longer trip, for example. A lot of other vans in this segment have fold-down captain's armrests, but not the Staria Load. And if you're playing by the numbers, the cubic capacity of the Staria Load is slightly bigger than a Toyota HiAce standard model. And if you don't need a cargo barrier or a bulkhead, which is optional as well, then you can simply just walk through the cabin. Plus, with this new model, there's extra length, width, and height available in the cargo area, and the dimensions are on your screen now. What that means is you can now fit 3 Euro pallets nose to tail in the back of a Staria Load and 2 Aussie pallets. But remember, you're going to need to option one with barn doors if you want to forklift them in, because you're not going to fit a forklift under here. Then again, you might choose to tow your load to the worksite, because now the Staria Load offers 2.5 ton braked towing capacity, which is more than the last iLoad model. Next, let's take a look at safety. Safety is one of the strongest suits of the Staria Load, and it's more than a leap and bound better than the old iLoad. All grades come with front auto emergency braking with pedestrian detection and cyclist detection, blind spot monitoring and rear cross traffic alert with avoidance technology, parking sensors all around, that surround view camera on the model with the tailgate, lane departure warning and lane keeping assist with lane follow assist as part of the adaptive cruise control, speed sign recognition, driver fatigue warning, and 7 airbags, including a front center airbag and second row airbag coverage if you choose the 5-seat crew van. It hasn't got an ANCAP score at the time of filming, but it's stacking up as the new benchmark in the world of van safety. Next, let's take a look under the bonnet. Hyundai isn't alone in offering just one powertrain in its van, and it's a good one, a 2.2 litre 4-cylinder turbo diesel, which is similar to what you see in the Hyundai Palisade and Santa Fe SUVs. It's got pretty good outputs and it runs an 8-speed automatic transmission. Unlike the old iLoad though, you can't get a manual, and the old iLoad was rear-wheel drive, where this is front-wheel drive. There's no electric, electrified or hybrid powertrain, and the company says it has no plans in the near term to add any such option. So what does that mean for efficiency? The official combined cycle fuel consumption figure for the Staria Load, no matter which version you pick, is 7 litres per 100 kilometres. But if you're a van driver and your vehicle's loaded up to the hilt, you're not going to see close to that. If you're wondering what I've seen during my week with the vehicle, and I've done a loaded run and an unloaded run, you can see those figures on your screen now. Next, we're going to talk about ownership. For some business buyers, this could be where the decision is made, and while Hyundai has a history of offering strong ownership potential in Australia, the Staria Load doesn't get the unlimited kilometre warranty that the rest of the brand's models get. Instead, it's a 5-year, 160,000 kilometre warranty plan. Service intervals are set at 12 months or 15,000 kilometres, and if you prefer, you can prepay your maintenance as part of your finance payments, making it just one less thing to budget for. Service costs are good at $360 per visit for the first 5 years or 75,000 Ks, and if you maintain with the brand's workshops, you get renewed annual roadside assist up to 10 years. Like any van that doesn't have a bulkhead behind, it is a little bit noisy when you're driving the Staria Load, even at city speeds on coarse-chip back roads like we're on right now. It's not necessarily what you'd call quiet, but chuck 800 kilos of boxes in the back or even option that bulkhead and you're going to get a bit more of a hushed environment. I would definitely be getting a bulkhead if I was buying any sort of commercial van. So yes, there is some noise to contend with, but most vans suffer from that, especially on wet roads like we're on today. No diesel commercial van is super silent when it comes to power and progress, but this engine is relatively quiet in most situations. Just when you put your foot down pretty hard, you do hear it sort of rumbling away. It's not necessarily the same case in the Staria People Mover, which is a bit quieter. But generally, the level of refinement on offer in here is quite good for a commercial vehicle. The 8-speed automatic, excellent. It does a smooth and smart job of shifting gears. No real complaints there at all. Also, you will notice that if the surface is wet, then you can get some tyre scrabble when you're taking away from a standstill, but the traction control system is excellent. The ride isn't amazing as a daily driver, and it's certainly better when you do put weight in the back. We'll get to that in a sec. Now, I haven't tested this vehicle at its payload limit, and I would imagine that the rear suspension would settle down even more, but it's not quite at the same level of composure or compliance that you will get in a Volkswagen Transporter, whether it's loaded or not. And that's something that you might want to consider. If you are sensitive to bumps, what are you doing driving a van, firstly, but you might also just want to make sure that you shop around and check what else is out there, because this can be a little bit sharp over sharp edges. But the usability factor is good because you've got the really light steering and you've got the surround view camera. It is quite easy to park, and that makes it easy to live with on a daily basis. Now, I mentioned that it does have that surround view camera. There are still blind spots in daily driving. You will notice over-shoulder vision is basically non-existent, so you do have to rely on the safety systems, the blind spot monitoring and rear cross traffic alert, and of course that camera system when you are parking. But I will say this, there's also a blind spot when you're looking over the dashboard, trying to see what's at the front corner of the van. It can be a little bit hard to judge, so just keep that in mind. Now, I've got 300 kilos in the back, which isn't necessarily pushing any payload limits, but it does offer a good, I guess, example of just what adding weight to a vehicle like this does to the ride characteristic, because it does settle things down quite a bit. With nothing in the back, this car can be a little bit bouncy and jittery. With 300 kilos across the back axle, it is a lot more settled. The other thing I would say when you're coming to a vehicle like this as a commercial vehicle is that when you are driving around town all day, you want to be comfortable and you want to stay as fatigue-free as possible. These seats are excellent. They're very comfortable and offer good adjustment as well. The other thing I think that's important for fatigue is that the steering is light and easy to use. The last thing you want is to battle the steering wheel when you're on your way home after a long day on the tools. But that's not the case in the Staria Load. It's very easy to pilot. And the other thing is that you've got all those safety systems for that extra peace of mind that you will get home safely. Couple of other considerations. There is an auto hold system for the transmission, but it only works in forward gear. It doesn't work when you're in reverse, so keep that in mind. And also, there's an electronic park brake, but it only actuates when you turn the car off, rather than when you just pull up to a stop and put it into park. That's kind of annoying and it will catch you out at times, but it does auto release when you start the car back up and put it back into gear. Bigger, smarter and safer. That really does sum up the Staria Load quite well, and it's a massive improvement over the long-serving iLoad that it replaces. And it's also good enough to challenge the Toyota HiAce for overall superiority in the van segment.